Hello, South Buyers. Kenny Vaccaro is a former All-American safety at the University of Texas, 8-year NFL vet, as well as the co-founder and CEO of G1, aka Gamers First, Austin's first eSports organization. He's also taking part in an intriguing panel discussion at South by Southwest this year titled Gamers, the New Icons of Pop Culture and Fashion. It's this Saturday, March 12th from 11:30 to 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Go to SXSW.com to find out more info on that. Kenny, thank you so much for the time. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. It's been a good morning. Just here in the office right now, about to get to work. So same old.
What does the workday consist of for you? Obviously, you are the CEO of Austin's first eSports organization. I'm assuming that you get to play a little bit of video games, but it's probably not all that glamorous, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to stream every day just to kind of keep that, forward-facing type of CEO persona going on. But no, I mean, my day consists of, get to the gym, the collective. We're attached to another a gym that I own. I get a workout in, try to get a cold tub, sauna, come upstairs, have meetings with my partners. Right now, it's just a team of 3 of us. We're actually bringing on the CEO of Collective, Devin, to help with sponsorships. But right now, it's been, we're about to do a merch drop. We got a professional Halo team right now. We're in every single one of those meetings, talking to those guys, getting to know our players. No, it's been a hell of a ride already, man. It's definitely kept me busy. And honestly, it's kept me from like really, really missing football. So it's a pretty good feeling, honestly.
That is something interesting. And speaking with a variety of pro athletes and also reading about their journeys, a lot of people, men and women, struggle to deal with the void that comes from spending so much effort and time, really going back to high school and maybe even before that, to make sure that you're in a peak mental and physical condition to excel at that sport. And when it's gone, so is that sense of being, that sense of livelihood. But that doesn't seem to be the case with you right now. What is the genesis story of you and your co-founders launching Gamers First? And how much easier did it make retiring from football versus some of your colleagues that you've known and you've seen them struggle over the years?
Well, we officially started Gamers First back in 2019. I was with the Titans. We made a huge playoff run. We beat the Baltimore Ravens when we were like, I think 15-point underdogs. And then we ended up making it all the way to the AFC Championship. Ended up losing to all-world Chiefs that year. But honestly, man, this year, I kind of knew if we wanted to move G1 forward and we wanted to excel and I wanted the company to take off, I needed to put as much energy as I do in football into the org, right? As a CEO. And I made a conscious decision that like, hey, I might be, giving up a couple $1 million contracts with teams that wanted to like bring me in and start. But at the same time, we got an opportunity here to just kind of do it my way, right? I never want to crawl off the field. I've been a banger my whole career, as a lot of people know, very physical. The body starts to hurt after, 8 years. Especially when I've been playing safety my whole life and I've been, kind of giving it my all and kind of throwing my body around for, I don't know, 15 years. Like it's whatever that, college. So 12 years and then 8 more in the league. So, it was kind of an easy decision for me. We had a group of investors come in and want to get involved in my company and, here we are.
So for people who are unfamiliar, what exactly is G1?
So Gamers First, it kind of came along when I was visiting Bungie, and they asked me like, why is the NFL player here? This was a couple years back, and I was like, I was a gamer before anything. I was like, I was a gamer first, and then we hadn't created the org at the time, but that's kind of when the name originated, right? It got in my head, and then obviously the short answer version of it is G1, and I guess it's stating that like doesn't matter if you're a radio host, a doctor, you could be a nurse, anything, right? Pro athlete. At the end of the day, a lot of the times people are gaming, like, and they enjoy it, right? Like you see a lot of players now that are really into video games and all walks of life. I've met some of my best friends through gaming to this day. Actually, two of my founders, two of our owners, I met through gaming, right? And then we created a company together. And there's lots of stories like that all across, the world. But for me, it was just kind of putting the player first, taking what I learned from the NFL and putting all that energy into G1.
Did it surprise you guys at all as you were considering where you were going to locate this business that a town like Austin, which is obviously so tech savvy and has had so many
Mhm.
different technology companies come in over the last 10 to 20 years now, that they lacked that esports organization? I'm assuming that as soon as you realized that, you jumped all over making sure that Austin was home and that you guys could call yourselves the first.
Yeah, I mean, Austin's always going to be home for me. I mean, as soon as I've always came back every off season. Before it blew up, I was still in Austin, right? Like everybody's all excited. It's like the number one city in America. It seems like now, traffic's crazy, but it was just the perfect spot. And like our location right now, we're building out the facility is literally right above a gym that I'm part owner in, the Collective, a really successful social performance club, and I have access to all those things that I want to do with the gamers. I can take them right downstairs and get PT. I can They can get a workout in. They can get in the sauna. They can get in the cold tub. They can talk to our mental coach, mental health coach. I mean, there's just endless possibilities with the health and wellness space in esports, and that's kind of the angle that we're trying to excel in when it comes to gaming, right? Because a lot of people don't think of it that way. They kind of think of guys that are sit on their ass all day. Excuse my language, lazy. Um, and play video games. It's had a reputation for so long of being just kind of, I don't know, frowned upon. But I think people are really starting to see that perception is changing.
And that really is the theme of your panel discussion at this year's South by Southwest. Before we get into some of the specifics there, just how excited are you to really get to spread the word on Gamers First and also gaming in general at what is one of the premier interactive festivals on the planet, Kenny?
I'm excited, man, because it's been, I think, either 1 or 2 years because of COVID since everybody's came together. South by Southwest has been a huge tradition in Austin, a huge tradition in Texas, really, for a long, long time. It's one of the few festivals that kind of brings people from all over the country into Austin, get to see our city, and I'm glad it's this year because the city's changed so much. Um, no, it's definitely a blessing to be on that panel. I mean, I'm going to be with LG, my buddy from KC Pioneers. They're sending in people from FaZe Clan, which is they just IPO'd at $1 billion, and then probably the number one org in the world. And just being up there talking with those guys and people even wanting to listen to me, that's kind of a surreal feeling about something other than football, right? I guess it kind of shows that athletes can do two different things. They don't have to be in a box. You can excel in different areas.
No question about that. And South by was also one of the first festivals to not just acknowledge that gaming was gaining increased importance in society. I mean, they literally had a gaming portion of the festival going back 5 or 6 years too. So
It's grown. Yep.
they clearly have understood that. Now they have a gaming awards that happens that really kicks the festival off and make sure to include panel discussions on various subject matters as well. I am curious, but because of the title, Gamers, the New Icons of Pop Culture and Fashion, obviously, these guys and gals are acquiring some serious wealth and fame in the process.
Yeah.
Someone like you, who obviously gained notoriety on the football field here at UT,
Yep.
also as a professional player for the Saints and Titans, is the notoriety that you gain from gaming more enjoyable for you? And if so, why?
Um, I would say like I've never really been in it for that. It is a little different though. Like just because a lot of people know me as Kenny Vaccaro, the athlete, you got to kind of earn it in the gaming community, right? Like I can stream and not that many people will even care to watch. But if I was talking football, like one of my first streams, I did a live stream of Elite Week down here in Austin when I was still playing, Derwin James is there, Earl Thomas, Jalen Ramsey, and 300-400 people tuned in. I didn't even have any followers. Well, now I have like 5,000-6,000 followers, which isn't a lot because I just kind of started streaming consistently. When I stream games, like a few people will be in there, right? Like people, it's hard to break that wall, right? You got to earn it in the gaming community, and I take that as a challenge, right? Obviously, it's getting bigger and bigger, but at the same time, no, it's just it's a completely different vibe. The gaming community's tight knit. They'll smell a fraud real quick. So you got to like be authentic, be vulnerable, and then you'll have success. It's funny you said about the new icons. If you ask my 6-year-old son, like who he'd rather meet, like Nick Merckx or Tom Brady, Dude, he might say Nick Merckx, like just because a streamer. Like he like you get what I'm saying? Like it's getting every single morning I get up, get my kids ready for school, and he has some type of streamer playing on YouTube constantly. I mean, they watch football too, but it's shifting a little bit. You'd be surprised if you ask our youth who they look up to most. A lot of times it's going to be a streamer. It's getting crazy.
So the title of this session is Gamers, the New Icons of Pop Culture and Fashion. I get the pop culture element of that equation, but
Yeah.
fashion? How are gamers having such heavy influence on fashion now?
As far as fashion goes, I mean, kids in Call of Duty is starting to get better in Halo. They've always because with gaming, right? It's not like a you put pads on right in a jersey. You can kind of swag out a little bit like on stage, right? Obviously, you'll wear your team jersey over a nice hoodie, some sweet pants, skinny jean pants, maybe some Yeezys. The kids like to swag out like while they compete, right? Um, and the gaming community is probably the biggest advocate of the hype beast you know, StockX, getting all the cool stuff. Like they drive that community. The gamers do really, and that's where the fashion piece comes in.
Interesting. I wanted to get back to the self care that you talked about a little bit earlier. Now, is the collective, is that what I've seen Jeremy Hills as a part
Yeah,
of as well? Okay.
yeah. Me, Jeremy, and Devin Lowe, Max Dittmer. I mean, I'm one of the. I was probably the first guy that brought in like as an investor partner. I help here every day, but I put the G1 facility right next to the collective. Like we're upstairs.
Gotcha. I'm familiar with Jeremy. He's joined the show
Yep.
on more than one occasion in the past. Really good
Mhm.
people,
Yep.
and it's cool that you guys are making these efforts to ensure that dudes not only have a place to go to train, but also to recover as well. And
Yep.
that has to be one of those things for a lot of you guys where you've seen veterans in the past who have a hard time moving around because once they're done with football, that's it. They stop keeping themselves in peak physical condition, and they haven't had access to some of these other things, the
Yep.
saunas, the cold tubs, cryotherapy,
Yep.
compression pants, theraguns, things like that, that is at our disposal now. So how cool is it to get to help other dudes out, younger guys, guys that are around your age, guys that you maybe even played with at UT who weren't able to continue things in a
Yeah.
professional capacity to make sure that they are their best physical and mental versions of themselves going forward.
No, it's definitely a blessing. I'm actually going to be at pro day later today. I was training a guy, Rashawn Thornton. He just hit me up. Was like, "Hey man, can you help me?" So like, we got at least 4 or 5 training sessions in. I mean, he's a guy that can rush off the ball, but I'm trying to like show that he can be an off the ball backer because he's that athletic,
Hmm.
and just training him every day, kind of guiding him. He didn't even like we had never met before. He just walked upstairs while I was doing one of my streams. Like, "Hey man, can you help me out?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." So we
Wow.
met at the bubble over there at Texas. We got 4 workouts in. The kids, man, so athletic. Like he says he doesn't have that much tape, but he's gonna have a chance because I play with a lot of great players, and a guy his size and that athletic, like they'll find a place for you. But that's just an example of like the cool things I get to do, and I find it just as rewarding doing that than training myself and meet myself getting better. Right? You kind of reap a little bit of the benefits when you see a guy that you work with that trusts you. When he goes out and does well, it makes you happy, right? It makes you feel good. So I'm excited to watch him today. But yeah, that's one of the perks of being able to be right upstairs from the collective. Guys will walk up and be like, "Hey, if you get a chance to take a break from gaming, come train me on the football field." So it's been a fun ride, man.
Considering that Jeremy's been crushing the training game for a while, have you
Yeah.
turned to him to ask a question here or there?
He kind of knows that I mean, I've been in it. Like it's
Yeah.
football drills, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy's more strength and conditioning, explosive based. And he knows football, obviously. But I mean, I've been doing it for a long time, and Jeremy knows that. He knows I've been around some of the best coaches that ever been, that ever been in the game. And what I've learned is, I didn't have to go to kinesiology or training school or any of that. Like everything I've known is came from coaches at a high level. So he just says, he kind of takes tips from me sometimes as far as football drills.
Hmm. Interesting. So I wanted to get back to something that you talked about a little bit earlier with regards to handling the day-to-day operations for gamers
Yeah.
first. That includes bringing new members of the Halo team aboard. So you're you're essentially having to find people who can
Yep.
serve as your professional gamers to help you win these various competitions. What is that interview process like as you are looking to find that next great gamer?
It's been crazy. Obviously, with our team, we've made our CFO, Cody Hendrick, we made way too many changes because we're trying to find the perfect four people that fit together, have a common goal to win a championship. I know that sounds so cliche, but the same things that happen in sports are the same things in gaming. Guys have egos. Guys don't want to listen. They're uncoachable. And then you got to make a team change. Like I'm in these meetings and I'm like, man, feels like I'm at the combine, 2012, 2013, all again, like trying to talk to guys, get a feel for them. But it's the same process, man. Like trying to bring together four guys that can mesh well. That's probably the most important thing I've learned in gaming as far as competitive gaming. It's everybody can shoot, right? Just like everybody can run fast and jump high in the NFL. But the guys that have the IQ and that can put, the team over themselves, those are the guys that fit together. And finding that this first year for me, it's been a process, man. Like it hasn't been like a sweet, wonderful story. I mean, I think our team right now is going to be has a chance to be really, really good. Probably, top 8 team, top 5 team. But it didn't start off like that, man. It was rough. I've had to had tough conversations with guys. Like I was literally, I can remember Mac Brown and Brable having tough conversations with me. I'm having tough conversations with gamers, and they're literally eyes are watering because it's that important to them, right? Yeah, it's the same process, man. I'm not the GM, one of our owners is, but I'm still, it's all hands on deck when it's only 3 people, right? So, um, yeah, I wish you could see it and feel it. It's passionate, man.
So wait a second. What does a disgruntled gamer look like? Is he somebody who's just
Man,
self-dealing all over the place in the middle of competition?
so check this out. Disgruntled gamer would be a guy that we play in a competition, right? We watch film after we play, just like traditional sports. And every time you call him out, it's like, oh, that was his fault. Or coach,
Mm.
nah, we should do this. Like it's that accountability factor I've noticed is one of the most important things in team building, just because your other teammates are looking at you like, man, this guy, he thinks it's all about him, right? Like you never want to give off that persona. And yeah, it's been you got to be in it to experience it, but it's literally the same thing as being on an NFL team.
Wow. So I wanted to do a little bit of internet fact check with you, Kenny,
Yeah,
because anywhere from 95 to 5% of what you read on the internet is complete BS. But I'm seeing
yeah,
on your Wikipedia page that you took a pretty epiphanous trip to Kenya. I think it was
yeah,
back in 2016 with Alex Okafor. Is that the
yeah.
case? And if so, what still resonates with you about that trip all these years later?
Man, so we met my one of my best friends, Michael Hobbs, um, former, pro New Zealand rugby player, one of my best friends. He was already out there doing a trip, kind of like a mission trip, right? But actually, he's so hardcore. He's staying in the Kibera slums, probably the poorest place on earth. But he's staying with the host family. Bucket showers, no water, no clean water, really. He invited us out. He's like, "Hey, man, like you and Alex should come out and experience this. It's life changing." Um, and he had started this foundation, this project called the Blessed Hope Project. So they were tearing down a school in Kibera, where all the kids went. The only way they got to eat during the day was going to this school, but they were going to tear it down and no longer have it. No, what their food supply be gone. So me, Michael, AO got together and said we're going to build another school. So we ended up, fast tracking. I go out there, I visit. Um, I'm playing soccer with the kids. We're teaching in schools. I mean, they're teaching me some things because these kids grew up. I mean, it's just we're blessed to be here in America, like you truly are, because people are going through things that are unimaginable. But fast track, we raised the funds. I put $100,000 of my own money in it just to kind of show a statement when I'm asking other people for money. Um, a lot of times they want to know what did you put in, right? So I immediately put my own money in. We did some fundraising things 2 years ago with David Mulugeta, my agent, top agent in the world, at the bowling alley. Had all his athletes there. We raised some money for that, but we built the school. Me and Michael Hobbs and Alex by ourselves. Ended up costing $500,000 for the whole build after raising. the funds to charity. And yeah, so right now there's a full functioning school. And the next plan is to kind of get a sports academy going for those kids because right now they're playing soccer barefoot on like a dirt rocky field, right? We want to get even a slab of turf out there would be, I mean, it would change their lives. So it's been a great, it's been a blessing taking care of them. We actually sent them the Lion King when it came out. I think was it last year, 2 years ago, maybe.
The
We
live
sent
action with Beyonce?
no, like the actual, was it live action? The new one, yeah, the Beyonce, right? It was a new cartoon, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
came back out. Um, we sent the whole school. I mean, obviously, doesn't matter about the dollar amount, but things like that, those kids will remember a lifetime. And I'm glad I got to be a part of it. You know, we're still connected. You know, they write letters. Their teacher um, writes letters to Michael Hobbs all the time. So I haven't really spoke publicly about it a lot. I kind of just did it on my own. I know a lot of times with charity stuff, you reach out to everybody. You want to be on social media as much as, or not, you want to be in the media as much as possible. That way you can find more charitable donations. But we didn't do it that way. And in the future, we probably will. We want to get people involved because people want to help. So,
Yeah, that's an interesting balance to have to strike because you don't want to be braggadocious about it. There's a certain
no,
modesty that comes into play if what you're doing is sincere. You're not doing it for the accolades necessarily, but it does get to a point also, especially if you're able to get a really nice boost like you guys obviously have initially, that
yeah.
you're doing it to raise awareness and say, look, this is what we're able to do on our own. If we get that much more help, we can help out that many more kids.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I think the first project for me and Michael was let's just do this and kind of prove to everybody the model and like, hey, we did this without hiring a big, charity foundation company like a lot of people, a lot of athletes do, right?
Mhm.
They hired a charity company and then they have NFL films out there and they have ESPN and they have NFL Network. They tell them to all come film me. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just didn't go about it that way. And when guys like you, look stuff on the internet and ask about it, then I'll explain it. But I didn't really go on like a tour across the country saying like help, help, help. Which I think in the future now though, now that I've shown an example of what we can do on our own, like you said, it's a good pitch to the big companies that hey, with a little bit of help, we could probably do something incredible, right?
Well, and I love the aspirations for starting that sports academy. Sports has obviously helped you to live your best life, Kenny,
Yep.
but why is sports so important for kids to participate in growing up?
You just learn so many things from sports, team building, you know, being a team player, accountability, character, um, keeps you off the streets for kids that live in bad areas. Um, being in New Orleans, right? Like when I got drafted, like those kids without football, basketball, baseball, like there's just like you just don't want your kids doing anything outside of that. That's just is what it is, right? Um, obviously for me, it changed my life financially. There's opportunities there, but more than anything, just the life lessons it teaches you in sports are probably the most important. Um, Coach Akina, everybody knows him.
Hmm.
He probably taught me how to be a man more than a great football player. He was literally my dad passed away when I was 15, so Coach Akina was like the first time I had been around somebody I felt like was legitimate, like father figure. Um, and he taught me more lessons about being a man than being a great football player. So I think the coaching in sports too changes kids' lives, not just the sports in general, but those individuals that touch certain lives and impact them in a way that they don't even know, right? They don't even the coaches sometimes don't even understand. You
Is one of those lessons that Coach Akina taught you top of mind right now? I'm curious.
said what?
Is one of those lessons that Coach Akina taught you about being a man top of mind right now? I'm
I
interested to
mean,
hear a specific.
it was just like my freshman year, me and Marcus Davis, and some people don't even remember the name. We all came in together. I had a top class, man. I was with Garrett Gilbert. Um, I mean, obviously that stuff didn't pan out, but we had a 5-star class, right? We had
That was that
all
2009 class, right?
yeah, Mason Walters, Garrett Porter, Peyton Kelly, Alex Oker was a 5-star. I mean, everybody was 5 stars, but me, really.
Hmm.
I didn't get my stars up until Texas offered me like, oh man, this kid might be all right. But
Funny how
little
that works.
knucklehead. I'm a small town kid from Brownwood, Texas, going to Austin, Texas. I mean, I know Austin's not Chicago or LA, but it's a lot bigger than a 20,000 everybody knows everybody type of town.
Right.
I was going out. Sixth Street was my best friend, and Coach Akina just like sat me down, was like, you have an opportunity to be as good as you want to be, but right now you're nothing but a waste of tape and ice. I was like,
Damn.
all right, like straight up, like he's like, you're gonna, and honestly, it came down to me and Marcus Davis because he said one of y'all got to go, and obviously, he saw potential in me. He knew I was a smart kid, so Marcus ended up having to lead the team, and he gave me a shot, and he just told me that like all my success isn't gonna come from anything I do on the field. It's gonna be how I carry myself off of it, and from that point on, I nothing really happened, right? Like I straightened up, became the person I need to be. That way I could go on to get drafted first round because those guys, if they're gonna draft you high, they're looking at your character, right? They're not gonna take any unless you're just the something crazy, right? They're not gonna take any chances on a top pick if there's any dirt, right? So yeah, he taught me a lot, man. He's probably the most impactful person seen in my life.
Wow. And the other reason why I love the idea of having kids compete in sports is because it teaches them how to win or lose,
Yep.
how to win like champions, which is
Mm-hmm.
to not be braggadocious or gloat about it, and to learn that losing is an important part of the process, more important than winning, obviously, even though winning obviously feels better. But losing is where you learn some of the most valuable lessons and understand how to get better as a participant and as a human, too.
Yeah, I mean, right now, my main thing is coaching. I'm coaching my son's flag football team. We end up winning. We just won worlds recently. We're the best um under 8 flag football team in the world.
Under eight.
Yeah, U8. We just won.
Okay.
We went to Tampa. The best team in the country used to be Hawaii 808. We blew them out by like 4 touchdowns. This is my first year with the team. I'm coaching defense, helping on offense. Um, yeah, my son's team they're phenomenal, right? We got Baby Gronk. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Madden San Miguel. He's in Dallas. He's on our team. Zane Hollywood is our quarterback. We're actually Bravo or some movie series place hit us up and they want to film like a series, like a youth ballers, right? He literally just texted me. He's like, "Hey, can we use the collective so we can film some coaching and player interviews?" But yeah, like impacting those kids because there's a fine line to me between, some parents are. It's okay to lose. It's not okay to lose. Like to me, like you got teaching kids how to be competitive and that will to win is so important early. Without it, you can't let it affect their. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, right? Because there's a fine line between the kid and you not wanting the kid to be soft versus he's being toxic, right? For
Mhm.
me, it's just helping explaining to those kids that you can be as competitive as you want to be, but once the game is over, you can still be the best, team player, right? You don't have to brag, you don't have to do anything. But when it's whistle to whistle before the game ends, you can be a beast, you can be a madman. But as soon as it's over, it's like, hey man, good game. Hey, appreciate you. You see guys in the NFL all the time. They're screaming and cussing at each other and they're competing. And then at the end of the game, they're like, hey, respect, man. So teaching my son that because these kids want to dance. This new age group of just dancing after every touchdown. They're grittying, they're freaking all types of. I'm just like, man, you are learning this at an early age. I can only imagine what it's going to be when you're older. But trying to calm that down has been a challenge, I'll say, because social media has changed the world, man. They see Justin Jefferson grittying. My son scores a touchdown. He wants to gritty, and then hey, Moss, somebody. The kids start doing this, and I'm like, oh man, like it's just like they see guys on TV do it that they look up to, and they impact the youth. So aiming that mentality to keep it humble has been a challenge, but it's been working.
Yeah, the gritty has probably jumped the shark. I actually tried my first gritty at a wedding a couple weeks back. It did
See,
not go
everybody's just doing it, man. It doesn't matter who you are.
everybody's
Oh,
everybody's doing it. And I'm
well,
glad you mentioned the post game handshakes because that's like a big conversation right now based on I forget what the incident was a couple weeks ago, but it was like a fight in college basketball involving Juwan Howard. And now everybody's like, get rid of the post game handshake. I'm like, no, the post game handshake is a great thing. It allows you to kind of calm whatever animosity that you felt
yeah,
during the confines of the game itself. And, win or lose, tell the other dude, hey, hard fought battle there, man. Respect.
yeah, they got to keep that just because, like, I just feel like in the history of sports, it's always been cool to see somebody literally in football, at least, want to kill the person across from them And then as soon as the game ends, it's like, hey, bro, good game, bro. All that stuff I said didn't even matter. Like it's like, because you just in the NFL, it's nuts. Dudes will be acting like they literally want to commit murder on the field. And then as soon as the game ends, it's like, oh, no hard feelings, brother. That was a great game. So, and just the being able to control those type of emotions to me is so sacred. You got to keep the handshakes, man. Juwan Howard, he has to control himself. I don't know what was said or what was happened, the details, but he got mad. It might have been something bad. Who knows? But you never can.
You cannot be a head coach trying to slap at an assistant coach. But I felt the same way when I saw Tom Herman. We was the coach at Texas. He was headbutting helmeted players before the Baylor game, a game that they actually lost. It's like, dude, let your strength and conditioning coach be that guy. You cannot be headbutting your own helmeted players.
I think with him, it's like, hey, if the head coach is doing it, he wanted to show how passionate he was. I get the intent. Like it didn't work out, right? But still, yeah, you can't be headbutting play. It just doesn't look good, right? The player's mom's probably in the stands thinking like, oh my God, what has he got my baby doing? But yeah, I mean, I get the intent. He wanted to show that, hey, I'm the head coach and I'll headbutt a player. Like, let's go to war, right? But yeah, crazy stuff happens all the time, man. You saw Bruce Arians this past season slap a veteran in the back of the head. Did you see that? It was like the VB. That guy was like a 7 or 8 year veteran. He slapped him in the back of the head because he was about to commit a penalty. That's so disrespectful, but you get that in the league, man. Some stuff is not shown because it's at practice, but never happened to me. I wasn't the one, right? So you never know.
No question. And I guess that physicality does exist. I mean, you obviously know better than I do, especially behind the scenes, but I'd like to think that we are starting to evolve away from that this low level of physical abuse is not constructive in any way, shape, or form. And if anything, probably goes against whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's that game of knocking people out and big hits. It's over, man. Like honestly, like me fading out a little bit right at the time I am, like it's probably perfect for me because when I first got in the league, I literally would throw my face into people. Like I probably would have had like 10 targeting rules my rookie year that didn't get called because they hadn't changed the rules yet. But then by like 2014, 2015, it started evolving. And guys, you got to go for the pick now. It's hard on defenders, man, because the offense wants the NFL to look at like low tackles, right? Like blowing the knees out. Well, what else are you gonna do when a guy's runs 4'4", 250 running at you like a AJ Dillon did me in the playoffs, and he has the quads bigger than Saquon. Like his quads are the size of my whole body. Like, yes, I'm gonna hit him in his knees. If I don't, I'm gonna end up on a stretcher, right? Like,
yeah,
so it's
serious.
The game is built for offense, right? All the penalties. Sorry about that. All the penalties, all the rule changes. It's all meant to score more touchdowns, make games more exciting, which equals what? More money. That's it. And everybody know. I think everybody knows that too. So on defense, you just got to play through it. And get picks, get interceptions. That's my advice to the up and coming DBs of the world.
Dude, don't even get me started on the virtue signaling going on in the league right now with Calvin Ridley as the league and everybody talking about it continues to profiteer on gambling. The guy who's out for the year puts $1,500 down. He bet on the Falcons to win, which I think is another level people aren't talking about enough. And he's suspended for a year.
I'll say this. There's probably so many coaches and front office people that gamble that nobody knows about. I know you can't tell me that those thousands of faculty people in the NFL aren't gambling. I know they are. Like I just know for like it's ridiculous. We make the NFL makes billions of dollars off gambling, and he loses. Calvin Ridley's about to get paid too. Like he lost 11 million, but he's a good receiver, so he might have lost 80 million, 100 million. Who knows? Yeah, it's tough because I get it. Protect the integrity of the game, but at the same time, why are we partnered with a gamble? Why are we partnered with gambling companies then? If we're, it's just.
Why are you allowing live betting inside arenas and stadiums now? Like, you have to evolve everything if you're really going to start to go there, which they clearly made a conscious decision a few years ago, as did ESPN and the major broadcasters. And the radio station I work for makes ad dollars on gambling. I mean, gambling is a part of the sport at this point. So maybe we need to rethink what guys are allowed or not allowed to do in the name of that integrity of the game that you're talking about.
I just think that do I think you should bet on your own games and stuff? Probably not. But if it happens, you get caught, the punishment shouldn't be a year is what I'm saying. Like if somebody can literally beat their wife and get charged with domestic violence and only get 4 games. He's
Right.
going to get a year for a $1,500 bet. A dude can like, I don't even know, dude, like commit the craziest crime and still make it back before Calvin Ridley's going to make it back. So like,
Ray Rice initially got suspended for 2 games before that videotape came out. So there's
yeah,
wild
like
inconsistencies with regards to what they supposedly think is right and wrong.
yeah, it shouldn't be. I mean, I just feel bad for him because that's like he'll be back because he's young enough, but at the same time, though, like it's just they got to balance the scale on the penalties and the punishment that's been given out versus certain things you do. I mean that you got to weigh in, like you said. He bet on the Falcons to win. He's not even there playing. It'd be different if you're betting and then going into it like you're betting right before a game in your locker and then going to play the game because then there's that is he throwing or is he is he like changing the game somehow by himself? Because Calvin could do that as a receiver as his caliber. He wasn't even there. That should they should take that into account on the punishment. Like he was away from the team, right? Like I don't even like he couldn't affect the game at all. So
Completely agreed. And by the way, anybody who's betting 18 parlays is asking to throw their money away too. And I know he had a 3 and a 5 team as well, but
is that what he did? He probably doesn't even know how to bet. Like he's like like he probably just thought it was. He probably didn't even know that like since he technically wasn't on the team at the time that he would get in trouble. And I don't know.
that's
It was
part of it. I mean, he was doing it digitally. He was doing it through DraftKings or something. So he leaves
he's
the
doing it
digital.
legit. He's not hiding anything like everybody else is using bookies, right?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly. Yeah, that's his mistake is trying to be above board with all of this, which I think speaks to the need. It's much like the NIL thing. Like enough of that has been going on for long enough that it's like, look, let's bring this above board so guys can get their true money and maybe some other dudes can actually get paid as well because there is a much larger percentage of dudes at the college level that never even takes a whiff of professional football.
yeah.
Those guys are deserving of some of that cash too, and we finally now have a system in place that's helping out with that one as well.
It's gonna be changing. I partnered with Nick Shuley because we're doing a fund, um, for the Texas guys. But yeah, I can only imagine like because I didn't have much money growing up. My mom dropped me off. I think she dropped me off like $20 when I first got to UT and was like, "Good luck." But I can only imagine by the time I got because I was going to be probably a first round pick my junior year. I came back from my senior year, so the sponsorship dollars or NIL money I could have got was probably going to be sizable, especially at a school like Texas where I think I was the last first round DB. I think it's been like 8 years now, 9 years now. Um, I'm sure there was a lot of people that I could have like, received money from that would have helped me out, helped my family out. So, I mean, these NCAA was 10 years behind on that thing. Like they stopped making the NCAA game the best video game ever made just
Oh,
because they didn't want to pay. They knew they were going to have to pay players eventually. That's why they did it, right? Like they didn't want to have to pay every single person in college. So they're like, you know what? We're going to instead of losing our money, we're going to get rid of the game altogether.
and
So
EA the whole time was like, look, we will be happy to pay these guys. We love this game. It makes us a lot of money. We want to be able to give these guys some cash in return.
NCAA just is like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember getting a check from EA or something. It was because after I had been on the game for 4 years, and depending on what type of player you were, you got it wasn't the amount that my likeness was worth. I tell you that. Like you know what I'm saying, like being an impact player in NCAA and everybody like you could argue the value in that, especially what they're making is in the billions, right? So it's just I don't know. Hopefully that game comes back because that game was it's the best, man. I don't know if you get to play it, ever got to play it, but the best
Well, I
game.
my favorite year, it got too complex for me, and I wasn't playing nearly as many games once I got into my 30s. But my favorite year was the 2003 version, I believe. So yeah, I probably owe Vince Young and some of the dudes on that 2004 team a lot of
Oh
cash
my god,
for how
that's when
much
we
I played
won
with them.
Michigan. Maybe we
Yeah,
beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, or
right.
before we went to back to the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I think that game there was like those. I don't know who was on the cover, but it's probably somebody for either one of our guys or Ohio State had like Ted Ginn, Troy Smith. Remember those guys?
Yep.
Playing those teams. Antonio Holmes, just speed on the field. I remember Texas going against Ohio State back when I was a kid, watching that and just being like, I'm going to Texas one day. Watching Lima Swede catch that ball in the back of the end zone. Like I just remember all these plays, and that's like the reason why I wanted to go to Texas. Watching those guys, as a young kid sitting there with my dad. We just got to create more of those memories so we can get more recruits now, right? Like there's kids that watch me play. They were like, man, I want to go to Texas and be like Kenny one day. Well, I wanted to be like Michael Huff, Michael Griffin, like I wanted to be just like those guys, Aaron Ross. I mean, it was just ridiculous how much talent we had, right? Um, so yeah, we gotta create that same feeling, same vibe for the youth coming up, so they automatically want to come to Texas. I didn't even need to be recruited. I was going because VY went there, right? So we got to create that type of culture again.
That's cool that 2005 game in Columbus was the biggest selling point for you. Are you confident? I'm assuming you're still watching Texas football nowadays. Are you confident that Steve Sarkisian can be the guy to lead
Yeah,
us back to that promised land?
yeah. I think the downfall of Texas has been quarterback. Let's just be honest right here. To be
Yeah.
good in college, you have to have a good. I don't even care if your O line's good, D line, special teams coordinator. I don't care who it is. If I'm a college team, if you put me as the athletic director of a college program, I am going to go find the best quarterback in the country every year, and we'll figure the rest out after that. The downfall of us is quarterback. I was talking to Alex. We offer Garrett Gilbert, right? He doesn't end up panning out. But what we don't offer is Robert Griffin, Andrew. Like you already know the list, right? Andrew
Yeah.
Luck, Baker Mayfield. I know Johnny. Johnny's one of my good friends, Menzel. He was begging to come to Texas. I remember like being at Fiji frat parties and Johnny's there. Obviously, you know Johnny's background, great
Uh,
dude. But he's like, man, they just won't offer me. I'm just like, and then he wins the Heisman. I think we haven't like we didn't offer. There's been like 3 or 4 Heisman winners, I think, that would have went to Texas, but we just didn't even recruit them. So maybe this Quinn Ayers kid, like I've heard the hype, I've seen him play. I like the golden mullet. I like the swag about him. Big kid, big arm, throwing the ball sidearm. That's the new thing now. I mean, if he plays well, we're going to be good. If he doesn't play well, we're not going to be good. Like that's all there is to it.
he does operate in an effortless manner. You hate to put a label on a guy like this, but it's very reminiscent of Aaron Rodgers to watch
Oh,
how easy he makes
that's
everything
that's
look.
fine. I'll take Aaron. I'll take one of the greatest of all time. Protects the ball, swagger. I mean, I know he gets a bad rap sometimes of like, how he carries himself, but if we can have Aaron Rodgers, hey, after what we've been through, I'll take it. Like, right? Like Texas has to. The world is better when Texas is good. I think our rivals would say that. Like, it's sad to see. Like, you should see how it is in the locker rooms when I was playing, trying to bet on Texas with my teammates against Oklahoma every year, and we're getting beat. You know what I'm saying? We snuck it in a couple of times.
Yeah.
I feel like we got lucky. Like, for some reason we played always good against the Red River Shootout, but it's been rough the last 8 years trying to like bet against other college teams with my teammates. So
Dude, you're probably thinking that well, you may have been in this game, that Case McCoy game where
I got
Texas was
blown
like
out by like
double.
56.
Well, I think there was a game the next year though where Texas was double digit dogs and
They won. It was some crazy. I was like, ain't no way they won.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I had to go to a wedding, so I wasn't planning on watching the whole game. I'm like, all right, Oklahoma's gonna beat us by 50 again. And then I
We got
ended
beat
up
by 50 when I was there. It was like 56-17. Like I actually played a good game, but we didn't have the manpower to like. Those dudes were just man. It wasn't close. I'd say Kenny Stills. I'm trying to think who else was there. Sterling Shepard. I forgot even the quarterback was. They
the
brought the
Bradford.
bulldozer in. Huh? You said what?
Was it Bradford?
No, who was the quarterback right after Bradford? I don't think they made it to the league or anything.
Okay.
Was it Jones? Who was the dude? Landry? No.
Oh,
You know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about.
I
Ended up
do.
being like a 3rd round pick or something, 4th round pick. Didn't pan out. Something Jones.
It may have been Landry Jones where he
Landry Jones.
stuck with the Steelers for a couple years.
Yeah, yeah, him. But he was good in college, right? That system with Lincoln Riley calling it, and then Bob Stoops, the head coach, like ridiculous. But yeah, we got blown out, and then like the next year, a worse team. I'd argue a worse Texas team ended up beating them. Like, so I was confused.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, Kenny, I've taken up more of your time than I promised. So
You're
thank
good,
you
brother.
so much for everything. He is Kenny Vaccaro, former All-American safety at the University of Texas, 8-year NFL vet, as well as the co-founder and CEO of G1, aka Gamers First, Austin's first esports organization. He's also taking part in an intriguing panel discussion at South by Southwest this year titled Gamers, the new icons of pop culture and fashion. It's this Saturday, March 12th from 11:30 to 12:30 Central Time. Go to SXSW.com to find out more. Kenny, thank you so much for the time today, and best of luck with all these things that you have going on in your life right now.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I enjoy talking, man. This was fun.
Yeah, let's do it again.
No doubt.
Stay tuned for more conversations from South by Southwest 2022. That will include some Zoom chats, in-person chats, and red carpet coverage as well. And you can go to booksonpod.com to access all of those interviews. Should be a button bar at the top of the page that says SXSW 2022. Thanks to Gentleman Jesus for the intro and outro music. Hear more of his work at gentlemanjesus.com. Thanks to you for hanging out. You can watch, listen, learn, and connect for free at booksonpod.com. For Books on Pod, I'm Trey Elling. Good day.